look down on our planet and reveal the effects of zero gravity on life, from single-celled organisms to the human body.
I wanted to understand what happened to people when they went into space. There's certain things that happen in your body because of gravity that we didn't know before, because we've never been in a place where there wasn't gravity acting on us in some way.
They're there to train you on how to respond to end-of-the-world type disasters. You simulate lifting off, maybe 5 seconds up, one of the liquid engines failed. They're constantly putting in all of these failure modes so that you can learn how to bypass things, how to react, how to use your backups.
We used to affectionately refer to it as death by training. Yourself, am I really going to be able to learn how to fly one of these things?
They're there to train you on how to respond to end-of-the-world type disasters. You simulate lifting off, maybe 5 seconds up, one of the liquid engines failed. They're constantly putting in all of these failure modes so that you can learn how to bypass things, how to react, how to use your backups.
We used to affectionately refer to it as death by training.
As the astronauts' training continued, the engineers constructing the shuttle were desperately searching for a material that would protect the ship from the extreme heat of re-entry over and over again.
It was a lot of stress. We were working 68 hours a week, all the time, up for a long period of time.
After many failed attempts, Tom Moser and his team finally manufactured an exotic compound of pure silica glass fibers. Silica's chemical composition absorbs heat extremely slowly. So slowly that during re-entry, it was calculated the temperature of the shuttle's aluminum body could be kept under 348 degrees Fahrenheit. But there was a problem. The silica tiles couldn't be stuck directly to the aluminum.
We developed this thermal protection system, tailored it properly, but with the aluminum expanding and contracting a lot, and the tile not expanding and contracting hardly at all, going through the temperature range, we had to isolate the tiles from the aluminum structure.
A solution to the problem was found in the most unlikely of places.
We used a felt material. It was the same felt material that they make Stetson cowboy hats out of. So it wasn't exotic. We didn't come up with any new material.
The felt was stuck to the aluminum, and the tiles were stuck to the felt. And the glue they used could be found in every home in the country.
Well, the adhesive that we used is bathtub caulk. Same thing you use around the bathtub. It's a rubber. So using bathtub caulk and cowboy hat felt, we would attach this new, sophisticated, newly developed material to the aluminum structure. Lo and behold, you got a thermal protection system.
The team made 25,000 silica tiles and covered the vehicle with them.
So it was that kind of engineering problem that we came up with a unique solution to it and fixed the problem and didn't add a lot of weight to the vehicle.
The sunrises and sunsets are just fascinating to watch because they're happening 16 times as fast as they happen down here on the Earth. Because you go around the Earth every 90 minutes. So you're going to be 45 minutes in the daylight, 45 minutes in the dark, 45 minutes in the daylight. So the sun goes up and down 16 times a day.
Day in space is quite ordinary. You eat, you sleep, you go to the bathroom, you get dressed, you do your work. This food item is the crew's favorite.
This is shrimp cocktail, and crews report that their taste buds are dulled in orbit and foods taste bland.
In day 8 of 28 for that one today, Multiomics looks at how living in space affects the microbiological composition inside astronauts' stomachs, as well as their metabolites profiles and their immune systems. It's been suggested that living on board the space station likely causes immune dysfunction in crew members, but the precise underlying mechanisms for that isn't well understood. Recent studies have indicated that imbalance in gut microbiota composition, or dysbiosis, resulting from a variety of environmental stresses, could lead to various diseases, including immune dysfunction. So by analyzing the gut microbiota from crew members, that should allow scientists on the ground to better understand the immune dysfunction on the ISS. The experiment hopes to identify candidates of bacterial and or metabolic biomarkers for immune dysfunction, which could be then utilized for the development of methods to change that dysfunction.
Microphones, what other experiments are you doing well above the Earth?
You know, we are really actively involved in several kinds of experiments. Many of those are related to what it takes to counteract the effects of zero gravity on the human body. I mean, it's a lot of fun up here. We work really hard, but it actually is pretty hard on your body, on your bones, your muscles, your eyesight. And a lot of experiments we have will help us learn what it takes to counteract that. And we also have lots of basic science research. I've been involved in an experiment with fire here on Space Station, which was pretty fascinating. And liquid crystals starts tomorrow. So we have a huge complement of experiments here on board.
Size and shape of our hearts may actually change, which could make it difficult to do our jobs when we get back to Earth or even land on Mars. On Earth, our heart and blood vessels are well adapted to work against the downward pull of gravity. In space, however, there's a tendency for blood and other bodily fluids to accumulate in the upper body. Let's take a look at one of the consequences of this fluid shift.
We have recently identified that some astronauts experience changes in their vision, which might be related to the cardiovascular system. Our hearts pump blood around our body through blood vessels. Special adaptations in our bodies ensure that fluid is evenly distributed despite the pull of gravity. In space, astronauts no longer experience the downward pull of gravity, and the fluid in their bodies tends to move towards the upper body and the head. Our cranium is a rigid container. As the fluid moves towards the head, it causes the pressure inside the skull to rise. This is known as increased intracranial pressure. The optic nerve travels from the brain to the eye. The increased pressure from the cranium travels down the nerve and affects the eye. It causes the optic nerve to be squeezed, and the optic disc, where the optic nerve meets the eye, to swell. The back of the eyeball flattens as pressure builds behind it, and the blood vessels in the back of the eyeball also swell. These changes can affect the astronaut's vision. One change is that the astronauts become farsighted. A second change is that they can develop cotton wool spots, which represent damage of the nerve fibers in the back of the eye. These can cause discrete areas of vision loss. NASA is working to understand and prevent these changes in astronauts, which may also help us understand and prevent related vision changes here on Earth.
Fighting a fuel spill fire using a hand line is very dangerous. There's a point when the heat gets into the bunker gear, you'll feel it directly. It protects. From the beginning, you couldn't feel anything. It gets warmer and warmer, and then at one point, the heat is going to get directly inside the bunker gear. And this is a critical situation.
The bunker gear is made from one of the strongest materials in the world. It needs to be. Human skin starts burning at just 120 degrees. The suit weighs 8 pounds, The key material is PBI, a substance used in NASA spacesuits. It's mixed together with Kevlar, a material used in bulletproof vests to produce a strong, heat-resistant surface. Even with the bunker suits, protection is limited. The material is tested to withstand the heat of this 1800-degree fire, but the test only lasted 8 seconds.
This is really important for us to know the limits of our bunker gear before we go into a real scenario.
Okay, this information, on a large scale, like a sperm whale, and it's going to give you all a chance to delve into a higher knowledge of who you are and what you are. So, but I wanted to share all the information that I received, and what I mean by share is when I asked to know more about myself, I'm wherever I am. I'm looking for that answer at that time. You know, that tinnitus inside us, that low ringing in the ears. Okay, so when that comes about, wham, I'm on it. Okay, and this is what came up. All these different NASA events, different days, different times, and all that. So definitely knowing that when we know that wherever we are the most powerful presence and the most powerful energy on the planet for us to be is right there at that very location as well. Because again, all of our communities have been very growth monitored and applied with large amounts of pressure, and yet when we are moved from those communities, the other people come in and establish them as high-class neighborhoods and all that. You know, their illusion. So let your energy determine who you are and what you are through this. And I'm not going to say it's science, just as I stop saying I'm speaking truth, because people can manipulate the truth as much as they want. So I haven't used that in a long time. So now I'm going to put more pressure on myself to know more about myself, to expand, okay? Pressure, assurance, expansion, by not using the word science. And yet, recognizing it for others at this time that it is science, and before the word science was used, that information definitely will come to fruition as well. So, there it is. More pressure, please.